It's really wonderful to see so many people I already know here and consider family, and I give thanks for those who ventured out to find out who I am this morning that I haven't met yet. And I would like to begin by saying Happy Mother's Day, again to everyone who is one or had one, to everyone who knows one. And as Reverend Colleen said, that might just about cover it. My first confession is that when I was delighted to find out that I was amongst the finalists after 9 different applications were reviewed, I sat down with my calendar and I made it clear to myself and to my partner Rick which days I thought were best for me to offer up, to choose from, to make an appearance in the month of May. I got it all figured out. I didn't want to speak on Mother's Day, and I didn't want to be first. So while I was busy thinking about what I didn't want to do, I thought of this great song, Mama Said There'd Be Days Like This. And I still thought, wouldn't it be nice if they sang it while I'm somewhere else today? Well, that's reverse psychology for you. That's the law of attraction. That's what we teach here. And yes, that's a lot of the times one of the ways that our mothers taught us. The part about being first is interesting too. I took this training when I worked on yachts that was shipboard firefighting. So I had one day in a classroom and one day at a fire academy. And then when I put pictures on Facebook, people were like, "Oh, it's so good of you to put your life in jeopardy for the rest of us." Well, I really didn't do that. But anyway, I had this one day where I did this training at a fire academy, and I put on my I forget the name of emergency breathing apparatus, and I thought, let's be honest. I'm going to tell the instructor I'm feeling a little anxious right now. So the best thing to do is to be honest about that. So what I did is I told the instructor I'm feeling a little anxious, very anxious actually, and I'm wondering if you would permit me not to be in the first group. He said, by all means, don't worry about it. You can be in the third group, and that'll give you an opportunity to watch everyone else and get comfortable with the idea of what you're going to do. I'm like, phew. Okay. So I have on all my stuff, almost, because you don't put on your emergency breathing apparatus till you're ready to go into the fire. And when it comes time for the third group to show up, he says, you'll be first. So I got to be what's called the hose man. I got to go in first, find the fire, and yell, "Found fire!" Or something. And then the other people come help me after that. And I thought, well, he must have had a good mother too. Because this isn't what they do. They're there. It's going to be all right. It's going to be fine. I swear you'll be able to do this. And they encourage and support us, and then they do something like push, So that's all before I really started thinking about what else I wanted to say today. Needless to say, I did accept my fate, my destiny, which was to be here in front of you today on Mother's Day and speaking first. Of course, there were reasons why I resisted that. And what I did is I disguised them. I said, well, the other females who are among the list of candidates are mothers. At that time, there were more of us. And I thought, well, why not defer to the mothers in this group? Surely, that's a nice reason, right? Well, it's actually because I had some things I was afraid of that I didn't want to look at. There might be some other people in the room that feel that way today, too. So maybe, just maybe, there's a reason why I'm up here today. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of this teaching, says that all dis-ease, disease, or discomfort, anything, is the result of trying to entertain two conflicting ideas. He calls it a complex. He says all we have to do is identify and remove that complex. So the complex for some of us is, oh, I really want to, but I can't. Or, in my case, I don't think I can, but I really ought to. You know, I thought, oh, Mother's Day? No way. But I'm a minister. If I were already your minister here, that's what I would be talking about today. So why not talk about it today? I did have the option to let myself off the hook, by the way, but it didn't feel with integrity for me. So, of course, all of these ideas are flooding in. Mama said there'd be days like this. Well, not just the song, but the whole concept. Beginning with a day like this, where I'm here doing something. Now, at this point in my life as a minister, I feel pretty sure that this is my calling. I'm pretty comfortable being up here. But I have my moments right before I get up where I have to breathe and remember that there's a power greater than me that's really got it all going on. So all I have to do is open and agree to that. Open to it and allow it to move through me. Anyway, there were a lot of wonderful ideas that came as a result of this exploration. First by resisting it, and then by being willing to take a look at it. So, there are two versions of this song. Mama said there'd be days like this. One of them is the one from the Shirelles that's all about teen angst. And there's this teenager who's just, oh God, she met this boy Johnny or Billy or something, and she was a mess after that. And her mama said, there'll be days like this. There'll be days when you're disappointed, frustrated, seems like everyone gets chosen but you, and they'll pass. You'll be all right. So there's that kind of comforting. And the other song that I looked up on the internet was Van Morrison's Days Like This. And what he did is he turned it all around. And he said, there will be days when everything's going great. Everyone seems to be in line. No one's trying to take you for anything. And they'll pass too. So he's saying, wait for the other shoe to drop. Now, my mother did her best, like the Shirelles' mom, to help me through those very typical times as a young person growing up. Exploring the concepts of relationship, of being picked to be on a team, of winning or losing a contest, and all of that sort of thing. Going to the prom. And my mother also did some of the Van Morrison type mothering. What she did was sometimes she encouraged me not to dream too much, to reach too far, to climb too high, so the fall wouldn't be so great, so the hurt wouldn't be so great. Now, for a while, I resented that. I resisted it. I flew higher and jumped further and took more risks in defiance of her. I have a feeling that in both cases, the warm, fuzzy encouragement and the pessimism both came from love. Really. I know that now. Can you know that? Can you know that? If maybe some of the ways that you were loved just really got you good and made you want to defy that person and do something different. That's reverse psychology. So I would venture a guess that most of us had a little bit of both. And that we have an opportunity today especially to be willing to take a look at that. Are we willing to appreciate rather than envy the mothering experiences of others that seem better than ours somehow? Are we willing to be compassionate towards those for whom those experiences may have been worse than we could ever imagine? Those qualities of appreciation and compassion unite us. They're part of what brings us together. This is an inclusive community. And we have discovered that when we're willing to accept and have compassion for those whose experience is somehow different from ours, if we want to call it greater or less, that's up to us. We don't need to. We can just say it's another experience. But if we're willing to practice that acceptance and that compassion, we can be united. We can take the very best from all of our shared experiences and incorporate them into our lives today. We can bless give thanks for, and release the rest, and recognize that they were just part of some greater unfolding. And above all, that each mother that we have known personally or in some removed way has done the very best with all that they knew and had at their disposal in that moment. So that's part of the deep reflection into Mother's Day. There is a sticky point because not everyone had the same kind of experience. Someone right next to you has certainly had a different one than you have. Isn't it wonderful to be able to reach out to one another and celebrate anyway? One of the things about this holiday and about this philosophy is very interesting, that if we lean towards that area of unity, we will find the common ground, of course, rather than be focusing on the differences that we have. The Sufi poet Rumi said, "Out beyond right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. Meet me there." And we can meet there by that acceptance and that compassion. We can meet there by looking at the things that we have in common. We can meet there by looking at the presence of the masculine and feminine archetypes within each of us, the mothering principle within each of us. The masculine and feminine are two parts of the Trinity. We have the father, the mother, and the son or daughter. We also have the seed, the soil, and the plant. We have the idea and the creative medium and the result. In this case, this thing we call the divine feminine, the creative principle, is the middle of that thing. It is the receptive one that puts forth, that births and delivers the perfect outpicturing of whatever is put into it. And we all have that within us. And so one of the ways that we can discover that common ground, that holy ground, and be united is to recognize that this is way beyond physicality and biology. It's way beyond your family history. It's way beyond hopes and dreams. It includes all of that, and it's so much more. We have within us the divine Father and Mother. And the relationship between the two is what shows up as our experience. So the celebration of this day is not limited to those who have the June Cleaver experience. It is not kept away from those who had a different experience. It is a beautiful opportunity to recognize the richness all around us, this fertile soil that always, always, always gives back to us precisely what we plant, or what plants itself in the case of dandelions. It will always do that. You don't sow cabbage seeds and get pumpkins. You will always get the perfect outpicturing of what you put in to that fertile soil, that creative medium, that universal womb that you put into it. So there's some humor in this as well. There are some examples that are pretty common to childhood, no matter who we've become, where we've gone since then. And a few of them are, I'll give you one of my own stories first. After dinner, on a regular basis for a little while, I would fall into an instant coma. Go to leave the dinner table, go to the living room, lie down on the couch. And that was because I didn't want to do the dishes. My mother, being so wise, knew that I was not asleep. She knew the truth of me. Now, this is a universal principle, by the way, because the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction, the creative medium, that receptive, responsive, perfectly, always on duty, 24/7 mechanism, always knows the truth of us, and we can't hide from it. So my mother would get me up off the couch, and she would get me to help with the dishes. and I learned to participate. I learned to be helpful, and I think that was a good thing. Here's another one. Does anybody remember the phrase, "My mother had eyes in the back of her head"? Well, the universe does too. The Divine Mother has eyes in the back of her head. How many times when we were children did we swear we successfully got away with something? Okay, I've done it. I haven't hurt anyone. I haven't seen anyone. I'm pretty sure I got it. Especially during the teen years. My mother always knew what I was really up to. There was no hiding that. And it wasn't because she wanted to be my constant punisher and watch person. It was because she loved me. She wanted me to do well. She wanted me to be safe. She wanted me to be happy. And so I couldn't get away with anything. And that's good. There was another one of a childhood encounter with a school teacher in 1st and 2nd grade, sometime around that period. And we all got assembled on the porch of the school. It was in the spring or early summer before school was out. And something had taken place. Excuse me for a moment. Abundant pollen and I still have a little bit of a belief about that. So something had been done that was not correct, and we were all lined up, and the teacher said, "Okay, you know, something's happened here. Who did it?" And the first kid to respond said, "I didn't do anything." And what we learned that day is that denial doesn't work. Denial doesn't work. In fact, it's the surest sign that there's something you're uncomfortable with and you're trying to disown and put off on someone else or something else. You're trying to divert attention, and that's how to get it the most. It's the same with this universal principle. This Divine Mother, this holy, responsive thing, will not let us deny who we are. It will not let us deny what we're afraid of. It will not deny us, allow us to deny ourselves what we love. So, now in psychology, of course, we can do this. We can repress something, we can deny, assign it to our shadow, but there's something else that happens because energy must move. It does. It will find an avenue of expression. It shows up. In your sibling, your partner, your neighbor, a coworker. It shows up in someone in your world and is reflected back to you. What a gift. It is a gift. So we can't deny anything that is stirring within us because our Divine Mother loves us so much, she won't let it happen. So we have many opportunities to have the truth of us reflected back. Not just so we'll behave, but so that we'll be fulfilled. So that we can have every dream fulfilled that we've ever had. I know that I tried to go back to another career that had a nice, stable contract and tons of benefits and lots of automatic deposits in my account, and my duties were clearly outlined. It was so safe. But I was heartbroken. And I was so unfulfilled. I tried to fake it. I can do this again. I can do this. I barely squeaked through a year. I already knew within the first 6 months I didn't want to be there. And then I was just trying to eke it out so I'd look a little better. I developed carpal tunnel syndrome and tendinitis. I was up to 3 ice packs a night because I was trying to avoid and deny the truth about myself. And Divine Mother, law of attraction, the creative medium wouldn't allow me to get away with that. And I'm grateful. There's another one that's really funny. I tried to make a red, white, and blue cake when I was somewhere between the ages of 8 and 10, perhaps. And there are 2 things that happen. This is a 6-egg sponge cake that's supposed to be about this high when you're done. I did not read the instructions. So it ended up being about that thick, and it was really hard. I also said, okay, I'm smart. Cake is white, I will add red, and I will add blue. And then it'll be red, white, and blue, because this was for the 4th of July. Well, red plus blue equals brown. My mother let me have that experience. My mother let me discover for myself that red plus blue equals brown. And that if you don't read the instructions, you don't separate the whites from the yolks and whip them very carefully in a very specific way and then fold them together with the finest sugar, your cake won't look like the one in the picture. That's the same thing with Mother Nature. We would not be truly free if all of this was done for us. If every decision was made for us. If we didn't have any discoveries of our own, we would not be free. Can you see, actually, if you look back at some of the things that happened in your life that you thought were like, oh, I can't wait. How about this one? I can't wait till I'm old enough to get out of this place or do that thing. In time, we did. In time, we were old enough. Do you know, I remember having that experience when I was in practitioner training, working at a bed and breakfast, and there was a husband and wife who owned it, who were fighting inside. And I'm out there sweeping the porch, and in my mind, I'm thinking, I can't wait till I'm old enough. And then I'm like, you are old enough. To look at that and say, aha, I'm not exercising my freedom here. I have an opportunity to make a choice. And so I did. As an adult, we sat down and we redefined our relationship. Perhaps, though, if we hadn't had, Terry McBride calls this constructive discontent, if we hadn't had that, we wouldn't be moved enough to do anything. Dr. Christiane Northrup, she wrote this book, which I have not read, by the way, but I saw something about it on public television many years ago. It's one about the mother-daughter relationship. And one of the things that she said is that we end up in chapters in our lives that are not unlike a womb, that we have just about outgrown. We've become too big for it. There's not enough room for us. She says the cafeteria shuts down. We're no longer nourished by this place that we're in. And we turn and we squirm and we kick and we begin to dream of being somewhere else. And we begin to point in this unknown somewhere else direction. We don't know why. We just have to. And so what happens as a result is that we have to let go of what is outmoded, of what no longer fits, what no longer works, what no longer nourishes us. And we have to be willing to move into the unknown for a time. You know that part. That part where you know you no longer belong here, but you have no idea what's next. Or who's next? A job, a relationship, a geographic location, one or more of those. And there's a period where we have to move forward without knowing. But the perfection of nature moves us along, points us in the right direction, gives us just the right divine urges and pushes. And a beautiful place is being prepared for us where we're headed. And when we arrive, we discover that. You see, whether you've been a mother in biology or not, you can appreciate the magnitude of that. So what I invite you to do is to recognize all of the ways that you're mothered so lovingly to make sure that you dream every dream, that you reach every star, that you recognize your own beauty and potential, that you get every gift, and allow gifts to be given through you as well. It is a joyous, magnificent journey. And in A Course in Miracles it says, this is a required course. Only the time that you take it is up to you. I invite you to take it today. I invite you to joyously 100% jump into this journey and let it be yours today. And let yourself be loved by your Divine Mother.